Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Man, I am so excited to have you here. This has been a long time coming. Um, like we see each other like every day on the Power Five, not Power Five, Lord have mercy, Mark Coley Business Academy and everything. We are live on YouTube Live. We're doing this on YouTube Live right now. So with that being said, I'm just so thankful to have you here. With that being said, we're just going to go ahead and get started. Everyone, hey, what's up? It's your girl Camille Essick, and this is the host of the Speaker Podcast, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Be sure to hit the notification button and follow me on Instagram at Camille.Essick, and you can shop with me online at www.camilleanthony.com. I now have my room sprays available. Chemistry is here, so if you haven't gotten it, be sure to get that out. They're infused with essential oil, so check it out. And I also want to thank Samantha. She sent me this shirt from her brand, Sakofiya Fat Rich. So thank you, Sam, for sending this shirt to me. For those that aren't familiar with you, John Ira, let everyone know who you are.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Camille, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I'm honored. My name's John Ira Johnson Jr. I am a celebrity hairstylist here in the Jacksonville, Florida area. Hopefully soon I will be transitioning to Atlanta. I also help entrepreneurs that are stylists or barbers create residual income behind the chair and focus on their passion. I'm excited to be here.
So with that being said, John Ira, I know you're a stylist in a multicultural environment. What has that been like for you?
Whew. Okay, that's a loaded question. In the beginning, when I first started cosmetology school, I knew I wanted to be multi-ethnic. I kind of stopped saying multicultural because we're all in America and we're just like the same culture mostly. Yes. I wanted to be multi-ethnic because money's green. And it has been an interesting experience. It's been an interesting experience from the beginning. When you're in a certain salon, like say if you're in a predominantly Caucasian salon, you may have Black clients who feel like, hey, do you know how to do Black hair? And then if you have, even though you're in the predominantly Caucasian salon, you may have Caucasian clients who say, you can do white girls' hair? I mean, they've said it to me exactly like that. So I'm quoting exactly how it comes to me. So it's very interesting. It's a lot of education just for, not just, but for me and for the hairstylist, for the clients and the hairstylists as well. I don't know why I'm getting a little nervous, but yeah, it's education.
It's all right. It's me. I'm not gonna bite.
But it's education for us all. But it's a joy. It's great because every day is something different and it's new and it's fresh. So it's always fun because you're doing something different.
And John Ira, what was your inspiration as far as getting into the industry? I know a lot of people look up to people within the industry. So who are some of the people that influenced you and what started your love or your passion just for doing hair and coloring?
Oh, wow. There's this lady, there's this lady in South Carolina. Her name's Rosalind, and she did my mom's hair for a long time. So watching her do hair in the salon, so my mom had us in the salon all the time, she was definitely a huge influence on me in understanding that, hey, this is something that I could do. However, it started before I met Rosalind and my mom dragged us all to the salon. My grandmother, my dad's mom, used to ask me, she called me Johnny. My dad's side calls me Johnny, or Lil Johnny. And Johnny, I need you to grab the comb and I'll give you, 5 cents if you scratch Granny's scalp. So I would get Granny's scalp, grease her hair, her scalp, braid her hair, plait it. And it just became like a bonding time for my granny and I, and it's something I think about every day.
Yeah.
It's why doing hair is my passion. So it really it instilled in me from that point.
Yeah, I remember my grandmother doing the same thing. I didn't get paid, but she would let me scratch her scalp and she'd go, that feels so good. Because she would call me Millie. But she was like, oh, Millie, that feels so good. And I would scratch her scalp for her. And that was back in the day when you had like Crown Royal or Dixie Peach. A lot of people don't know about those brands, or just the old-fashioned Blue Magic, TCB, the B&B hairline. And I love
the moisturizer.
the pink oil, and I think it was the TCB, the moisturizing spray, because I had really thick hair, so we used that. But that was just a bonding time with the grandmother. So even when she would scratch my hair and then she would wash it and hot combing, especially for Easter, hold your ear down. Alarms going off because of smoke in the kitchen from the hot comb from the stove.
Those candy curls.
Yes, and you know what? Those curls would not come out until she washed it, because they would, and they don't curl hair like that anymore. Like where it was from wash to wash.
No, it was the curling wax held them in there good.
Yes, I think it was called the Dax. It was red curling wax.
Yes.
Yes, it was the bomb.com. So even
I was just saying, now we don't want the hair to be that heavy and hold that long.
Oh no, I mean, if you think about hairstyles now versus then, like remember the pump it up, the spray.
I actually ordered 6 bottles when let's see, who is it? Cardi and Megan, they came out with that album. I was like, let me order some pump it up in case somebody wants some updos. I remember how to do those.
Yes, so I mean, I used to wear my bangs, with the deep swoop and the pink. I thought I was all that, huh? Now it's all about body and flow and color. I think like ombres, like I'm wearing ombre right now. I love it just because now colors are so multi-tonal and just not just one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. What is your take on that within the transitions within the hair care industry?
Repeat the question for me.
As far as the transition, as far as like colors, like your take on like the techniques, how it's changed so much over the years.
Oh, wow. You know what, Camille, the interesting thing and great thing about it is it's recycling. Like ombre and balayage, we used to use that. First of all, before we started doing caps and full highlights, that's how we did color. And then we started using those techniques for corrective color. And then those techniques became what we wanted to do for a final color result. And what I love about it right now is not only do we have on one hand fashion forward colors of the blues, the reds, the violets. However, on the other side of the spectrum, we have these colors that look natural. It's like it's a color that's been done in a salon. However, it looks like it's been naturally kissed by the sun, and it's gradually getting lighter towards the ends, like it's just been a person spending their summer outside, getting this natural color. And there's a true art in that, and making the color look like that. And I love it. I really love the fashion of it right now. And I love how people are more free right now with their hair color, because a lot of people are doing fashion forward blues, reds, greens, and they're not getting looked at in a bad way, anymore. It's more acceptable. So people are able to express themselves more.
Yeah. I think with the expressions now, I think at least from what I've seen, women of color, we're kind of starting to have a little more autonomy as far as our hair. But I think over time, Black women have experienced a lot of traumas with styling because of assimilation within culture, particularly in the workspace or even in schools. Because even for myself in the military, with standards and regulations as far as what Black women should do with their hair, we can't just wash and go because our texture is totally different. And then we see a lot of damage to our hair and scalp because we're doing these styles, because it's not about trying to be white or act white, but there was a time where even still there's discrimination, hair discrimination among women of color. And as a result of things we try to do to mitigate some of this discrimination or bullying, it caused a lot of damage. And even now with certain styles, like we look at the Gorilla Glue Girl and what she did, doing this protective style, but then it caused like a viral conversation about Black women and hair care. So what is your take on that?
Well, it's interesting you asked that. Thank you for asking that question. What I would say first is what happened with the young lady that went through that episode with the Gorilla Glue. First of all, I don't think she received enough empathy from the internet, from the world, from Black people, from white people. I don't think she received enough empathy from anybody because, as you said, to your point, with her being in a culture that has practiced assimilation for so long, why was she put in a space where she felt like she had to lay her hair down, where she had to make it look just so? Why couldn't she feel like, oh, I can just wear my hair as it is? And the conversation has to be had that we do have products with gorilla on them, the name, and a gorilla figure on these products. So we don't know how she acquired that product, where she went and got the product from. We just know she used it. And come on, gorilla should have known that. And I honestly feel like instead of the company ostracizing her, I felt like they could have made her an ally. They could have brought her in and had a conversation with her about, hey, why did you do this? How can we help? Instead of saying, you're crazy. Why did you do that? And, making her the bad person. That was really a moment for Gorilla Glue, in my opinion, to take a stand and say, hey, let's have a conversation.
Do you feel like it was really Gorilla's fault? Because she ran out of the Got to Be free spray, which I use, for quick install. Sometimes I do the Ghost Bond if I want a longer install. But for something quick for a couple of days, like right now, I did a quick install with the Got to Be Glue free spray. It's still hairspray. I know not to put Gorilla Glue holding spray in my hair. So it's just something for a quick fix. Oh, because I ran out of hairspray. I don't go from hairspray to glue. And so for me, from an intellectual standpoint, I can't understand that cognitive transition, like whatever took place in her mind in order to do that. Like, I don't understand that.
While I agree with that, hey, wait a minute, you shouldn't use Gorilla Glue on your hair. And when I first heard of it, I was like, okay, now that's funny. Like, what is wrong with you? And as much as I think it is still funny, I still feel like, hey, there's a conversation to be had here. Now, I don't think it's their fault that she decided to use Gorilla Glue, that's an industrial glue, on her scalp and hair. However, I do feel it is their fault how the company spokespeople decided to handle the situation.
Yeah, I saw the tweet, and that was messed up what they did. Like, I just think as a corporation, I'm a communications major in grad school. I don't think that was maybe the most PR response they should have given, particularly addressing, a person, particularly a woman of color in this time. I think they should have exercised a little more sensitivity. If I recall, they used an explicative in their response with the tweet. And I was kind of like, whoa, like they really said that a company is talking like this, but then you look at, we just came out of administration. I've never seen someone in leadership use profanity so freely. So now that level of comfort has trickled down into other places of leadership within our society. But I just feel like from a PR standpoint, that was maybe not the most PR way to handle it.
Definitely not. And it's like these companies fall into the same trap that everyday people fall into on social media, wanting to be catty, wanting to go viral for saying something slick or funny. And it just wasn't the time for that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. With that being said, what is your advice to women of color that may be experiencing traumas? I know, like myself, I do protective styles. Some women are doing the big chop, some aren't. So from what you've seen within the industry, when we look at this young lady with the Gorilla Glue situation, because now she's making merch, and she's doing a GoFundMe and raise like $15,000 trying to sue Gorilla Glue. But what is your take on the at-home hair care, particularly now with the pandemic and DIY hairstyles, because some people can't get to their stylist?
Well, that's a great question. And here's the thing. You may not be able to get to your stylist physically in the salon. However, there are lots of hairstylists offering virtual consultations, getting on Zoom or a platform like we are on right now and speaking about this is some hair care you can do at home. There's lots of information out there on the internet, YouTube University, although I advise against it most times, there is still some great information out there for you to figure out, okay, what can I do in the meantime when I can't get to a professional?
Mm-hmm.
And calling your stylist or your barber and having that conversation with them. I guarantee you that he or she wants to have that conversation with you about your hair care and wants to lead you in the right direction. During the pandemic, I had clients coming in getting color kits. I prepared color kits for them to do their color at home because I couldn't touch them legally. I had individuals purchasing product, and I was explaining to them how to put the color on or how to style their hair at home. So there is definitely a conversation to be had with your hairstylist or your barber to make sure you get the care that you need. And that's where a lot of hairstylists feel with the Gorilla Glue young lady, is the fact that, hey, wait a minute, why didn't you contact a professional? Why didn't you speak to a professional? And have this, even if you couldn't have it done professionally, a professional could have led you the right way and said, hey, wait a minute, this is what you need to use and not that. So it's definitely a conversation that we have to have. You just have to reach out and get the help. Sometimes we don't want to ask for help, but we should.
Yeah. And with your environment, with different demographics, what has been some of your greatest challenges or hurdles or struggles? And then how did you get through those things within that environment?
Is this in reference to being a multi-ethnic hairstylist in the salon? Or is this
just period? I mean, as a multi-ethnic stylist in the salon, I mean, you have your personal life, but then you have to come to work, and sometimes, you might have a client that's have attitude, and you have your own thing going on. So even throughout your journey, because most hairstylists still are predominantly female, but then you have a flux of males coming in the space. So how's that been for you, and how did you overcome those hard points?
Oh, wow. Great question. Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. And you know what, for you all watching, I apologize. I have a bully of a cat at my office door. You probably hear. I apologize for that. Let's see, being in the salon, one thing I had to do is I had to be comfortable being outnumbered because I am the only male there. And in a lot of situations I am. And there's just some conversations you hear and some things that happen that, sometimes you just know, okay, I'm just listening here, or I'm ignoring, and I'm not a part of this conversation. So the challenges would be, I would say, knowing how to communicate with a group of people who are in opposite gender than you. Some people may think, oh, well, that's easy, you just talk. However, it is a delicate situation, knowing how to communicate and understanding that there are different needs for each. It can be as simple as making sure you walk the guests outside after dark and not just saying, okay, bye, and just letting somebody just walk outside to their car. It's, simple things like that. I will say I've enjoyed my journey. What some people may think is because I am a male, and they would think that, hey, you are the most successful in the hair industry, because a lot of people think males are the most successful in the hair industry.
That's stereotype, yeah.
Yeah, so it comes with its pros and cons. It definitely does come with pros and cons, and hey, I say I know male stylists that are successful. I know straight male stylists that are successful. I know gay male stylists that are successful, and female stylists that are successful. And we all have something to give and to share. And I think that's where we have to stay. At least for me, I have to stay in that point of understanding that we all have something to share.
Right. So how do you personally deal with those stereotypes? Because of your demographic, there's all these assumptions. So how do you tear down those walls and say, I know it may seem like this is the norm, but I'm still John Ira? Like, how do you find your identity within these stereotypes or labels people try to attach to you?
Okay. I don't know if I'm answering the question correctly, because I feel like
it's not a cookie cutter answer. I'm just curious people have all these labels. Like I had someone, I'm on Clubhouse, right? And so someone reached out to me a couple weeks ago, and during the conversation, and she was honest. She was like, just because we've been on the platform for a little while, and you know, when you're on Clubhouse, people are going through your profile or whatever. And she said, just by looking at you and your pictures, I just assumed you were this type of person. She said, but after me getting to talk to you, she was like, oh man, you're like so cool, so down to earth. But she had already labeled me, and and in her head already had this assumption of who I am, you know, and it's not fair because I feel like a lot of, particularly Black women, we're tough on each other. You're already sizing up someone when they come in the door because you're looking at hair, lashes, and shoes, and not looking at the person. You know, you're seeing a representative, or you know, but you're not looking at me or trying to look at me. And I think sometimes people do that because of their own insecurities or self-esteem issues. Instead of giving me the chance, you know, you're already putting all these labels on me, or she thinks she's this, is that, and the other. And that's pretty much what she said. But after talking to me, she was like, I was totally wrong. And I think as people, how many times do you miss your blessing, or you're praying for an answer? I could be the answer to your prayer, but you miss me because of what you think, how I'm packaged, and you don't bother to look at the contents of the package. So for you being a stylist in your industry, and all these labels or tropes within being male or whatever in the industry, how do you break through that and just say, hey, this is John Ira, this is what I do, don't label me?
Well, in all honesty and truth, what I try to do is I just attempt to be myself. I put a concerted effort for it to be myself and to put my best foot forward. You're right. There are a lot of labels. There are a lot of assumptions made, and it just makes me want to be myself even more and be authentic with the person that's in front of me. I mean, there's definitely a lot of labels that I've had to endure. I've gone from a stylist that came in with skinny jeans and knee-high boots to getting my nails done every week to not doing that anymore. So it's definitely, I've been in a transition over the past 17 years with all my guests, and they've seen that transition. So what I've done is not focus on that. I've just always shown up as, hey, this is me. This is John Ira. I do great work. I'm here to make sure we take care of the integrity of your hair. And what I want to do while you're here, you are my queen. You are my celebrity right now. And some people can't take that, and that's okay. Those aren't for me. Those aren't the people to go along on my journey. And I honestly had to get to the point where I didn't care, because there was a time where I felt like, okay, well, when this particular client comes in, I can't talk about this, or when she mentioned something like that, I can't say anything about that. And it got to a point where it's like, hey, no. I even had to tell a client that recently. She was saying, oh, well, you know, one day when you get a wife, I was like, you know what, Miss Margaret, that's not going to happen. So that's
hello.
Like, can you please stop saying that? Like, and if you don't want to come back anymore, that's okay.
Right. Yeah. And that's very interesting that you said that. So with that being said, as far as your perspective, as far as representation in the industry and battling those stereotypes, particularly with hair care and Black women, what do you feel like is the importance, or your role? Because you're also a father. So what do you feel like is the important thing as far as being a Black father, and those roles and those images and those conversations that you have with your son, preparing him for the world that awaits him?
Okay, that's a really good question. And I know this is a bit unorthodox. I know we're live here. Is there a way I can get 5 seconds to 10 seconds?
Your cat is off the chain.
I'm going to let him outside. Is that okay?
No, go ahead. That's fine.
Can I take myself off screen or something? No?
Yeah, I'll do that for you, and okay. Just go ahead. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in while we're waiting for John Ira and his bully of a cat. So if you haven't just now tuning in, my name is Camille Essick. I'm the host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Be sure to drop a comment or question down below. Hit those notification buttons and be sure to subscribe on YouTube as well. We are growing. I just recently hit 4,000 downloads. I'm really excited about that. So we are on the push for 5,000 for this month coming up. And if you haven't heard, I've also released my new room spray. It's called Chemistry. They're infused with essential oils. They smell really good. I have 10 fragrances available. And you can get that product online right now at www.CamilleEssex.com. And with that being said, we're back here with John Ira. We're discussing his experience in the hair care industry. And I just asked him the question as far as being a Black father. How is it important? And what are those conversations like with you, John Ira, as you prepare your son for the world that awaits him as he's growing to be a Black man?
Wow. Okay. Now that's another loaded question, especially with everything that has transpired during the time of raising my son. Wow. His mother and I have definitely had our work cut out, making sure that our son knows how to conduct himself in public, at school, in a future work environment, making sure that he knows how to be respectful. So definitely had a lot of conversations with him about being the best that he can be, always being 10 times better. Literal conversations with him, telling him not to be mediocre, but to be great. And letting him know that there are entities out there and people out there that want to put him in a school to prison pipeline. And that's what we don't want to be a part of. And those are the hard conversations that you have to have with your child, and they don't really understand it.
Have that conversation, like to even have that conversation, like you said, to conduct yourself in school, or hey, if you're going to go out with your friends, do this. If you get, it's called the talk. They've even had commercials, PSAs about Black parents having to talk with their kids just to go out, hang out with friends, go play basketball, go to someone's house and play video games, or maybe even a date, you know, and no other demographic that I've heard of or seen on television to do a PSA about the talk. Like, that's just asinine to me.
Yeah, it is. And it's there was a scary situation that happened, and I won't take a long here. My son and I, we were on the way to his tutor, because we did homeschool for a while. When he was living with me for about 2-3 years, we did homeschool. And we had a tutor that took care of him for some subjects. And we were late. And I was upset with him. I was going off. And I think he was about 15 at the time. So I'm driving, going off. Say it again?
How old is he now?
He's 17. He'll be 18 in April.
Okay.
And I wasn't paying attention to the speed limit. I took the wrong turn. I was going 60 in a 35. And yeah, seriously, I was. And it was an officer there, and he just pointed and he was like, pull over. So I pulled over. My hands were on the steering wheel. And the officer came to the car, and he's like, do you have any idea how fast you're going? I was like, no, sir, I do not. I'm taking my son to his tutor, and I really wasn't paying attention. He's like, well, you're going 60 in a 35. Do you know I can take you to jail right now? Do you know how much this ticket's going to be? I was like, I understand, sir. I apologize, and my hands are still on the wheel. And the officer said to me, he's like, you're just going to accept the ticket? You're just going to accept the fact that I can give you this astronomical ticket, or I can take you to jail? You're not going to argue with me or anything? I was like, officer, I just
gaslight you?
Excuse me?
Was he trying to gaslight? Like,
I was like, officer, my hands are still on the wheel. And I'm like, officer, I'll just take the ticket. I am a concealed weapons carrier. It is on my person. I'm just taking my son to the tutor. And I look over at my son, and his hands are up in the air, and he is crying. He is literally crying. And I'm like, oh my God. At that moment, it's like anything I was upset about, anything I was going off on him about, it was over. It was gone. So the officer went to his car, came back, and he says, I'm going to let you go. I'm not going to give you anything, no written warning or anything. I'm going to let you go. And I want you all to understand that an officer did something good for you. So when we got to my son's tutor, the first thing my son, as he recounted what was going on, he says, soon as the officer came to the car to speak to my dad, he had already unclipped his weapon. And the tutor was like, well, maybe that's protocol. Maybe that's what they're supposed to do. And my son was like, well, when we were passing by, he pulled over these other people and he didn't do that to them. And it's like, hey, even children recognize the discrepancies. And it's like, I told my son at that moment, it was like, look, I apologize. This is what I expect of you. And you know what? I had taken his phone away from him. Here, you can have your cell phone back. Like, I'm just, happy that nothing happened. Nothing went crazy there. But that was just a crazy situation. But for my son to know he had to have his hands up.
But just that anger as a Black man in front of your Black father, and being challenged like that, and being placed in a position where if something were to happen, you couldn't even protect your son. As a father, that had to enrage you.
Listen, I'm holding back tears right now.
It's like you're being emasculated in front of your son, and this cop got off on it. And even now, it just seems like it still makes you upset just to talk about it. I can see it all over your face.
Yeah. It was a trying experience. Seriously.
So after that traumatizing experience, John Ira, what has it been like for you with these continued conversations with your son since then?
Well, unfortunately, Camille, it's been the repeating of the same thing over and over again, especially every week. It's another hashtag every week. We're speaking about, remember someone else's name. And it's just become exhausting, seriously. And I can only imagine what it's doing to the mental health of our children right now. So,
right. So what is your message to other men out there, Black fathers? What would be a message you would want to give to them? Just because you're all in the same boat, what would be something you want to say to them now?
Our presence matters, and we definitely have to be there and be present. Even if we can't be physically there all the time, we can be there on FaceTime. We can be there in letters. We can definitely show up for special occasions, and we definitely have to give them our perspective and let them know how the world sees them and how they should our children should conduct themselves to continue the generation, to continue our line, to stay alive. So our presence matters.
And it definitely does. I know, like you said, sometimes mom and dad, it doesn't work out. You go your separate ways. I'm not a parent, but I've just seen a lot of my friends that are parents. And regardless of the situation, the presence of the father makes a world of difference.
And that's one thing I would say about my son's mother, is that one thing her and I agree on, and that's why he was with me for that period of time. No matter, who I am as a person or, how I present myself, I'm still a father and I'm still going to be there for my child. And we definitely understood at that time that during those teenage years that he needed to be with me versus being with her. And we have our issues because we're not together anymore, but we do agree on one thing. We want the best for our son. So he's our only child. We want the best for him.
And I think what is important too, there's also the stigma or the stereotype that Black men aren't fathers to their children. And as long as I have the platform, I want to continue to tear that stereotype down. That's not true. Black men are very involved with the lives of their kids. Despite what's going on with mom or their partner, they're very present. And I've seen men cry because the child was used as a pawn, because the mom is feeling away because of their relationship. and the child did not deserve that. Now, as far as a partner, he could not have been the great best, but amazing father, yeah. So why would a man be denied the right to be in his child's life, especially if he's willing to be there and present and participate and not just a check?
Very true. Very true. Thank you for that. Honestly, I think that's a misconception that just gets ran with. I was speaking to a good friend of mine, a Caucasian friend of mine. I think she's like 65 now. And I was telling her that the statistics show that Black fathers are more involved in their children's lives than any other demographic. And her response to me was, yes, those are the numbers, but that's not the narrative. So it's like, yeah, we can have the numbers that say one thing. However, it's not the conversation that's being had. The conversation that's being had is Black fathers aren't there.
But you're controlling that narrative, because to you, that might be the narrative, because maybe your demographic is attempting to put that narrative out there when that's not the truth. So you can argue numbers versus narrative, but if the person controlling the narrative is giving a false narrative, that's not the truth.
It's not the truth at all, but it's the truth. It's what people believe as the truth, and that's the hard pill to swallow. So we just
I hate that saying perception is reality. Sometimes that just burns me up, because sometimes if your perception is not coming from a place of integrity or understanding or clarity, then your reality is very skewed.
Very true. Very true.
So with that being said, what is going on with John Ira? What's new? What's on the horizon? Do you have product? Like, what's up?
Well, thank you for asking. Right now, what's going on with me is I want to share my passion with other hairstylists and barbers. I want to build them up to be the best in the industry that they can be. I want to instill in them a drive for their passion. COVID-19 definitely brought out a new passion and hunger in me. Like, hey, you know what? I want to do this strictly because I love doing it. I want to focus strictly on my passion. I want to go full-time education. And I have been wanting to go full-time education for the past 3 years. And when COVID hit, it's now or never. So I definitely want to be full-time education, and I am on the path to do that. So I'm offering educational classes. I have a live happening every Thursday where we go over techniques of color, techniques of hair coloring. We go over different product usage and how to choose the right products for your clients. We also talk about how to create residual income behind the chair, because one thing COVID-19 showed us is that we are recession proof. However, we may not be pandemic proof. And we want to make sure that we have the systems in place to continue generating money even in a pandemic. So that's what I want to share with fellow stylists and barbers like myself.
Good. Do you have any products? I know we talk offline. So are you having anything that you're developing behind the scenes, like shampoos, conditioners? I just see you doing that. I don't know. I just see your name on a bottle somewhere in the store.
Well, you know what? Right now, what I do share, I am a partner with Jack Win Pro for the shampoo and the color product. And I do use that behind the chair. And that's the product that I share with stylists and barbers to create the residual income. In the future, be on the lookout for a skincare line. That is definitely what I will be going into, offering a skincare line for people like myself and other people that want to have flawless skin. Who doesn't want to have good looking skin? Right. So I'm definitely going to be offering that soon. Look for that maybe by year end, the John Ira Beauty skincare line. However, right now for the shampoos and conditioners, check out my website, johnirabeauty.com, and you can get your Jack Win shampoo and your conditioner from my website.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's where people can connect with you online, like your social media. Where can people connect with you on social media?
Great question. At John Ira EDU, that is JOHNIRA EDU on Instagram. And you can also find me on Facebook at John Ira Johnson Jr. And Camille, I want to say you're the first to know about the skincare line.
I got the exclusive.
You got the exclusive.
Yes, honey. Listen, when it drops, you got to come back so we can do like a a premiere or reveal or whatever. I want the exclusive on that too. So thank you for the tea.
For sure. Thank you for asking.
You know what they say, you have not because you ask not. You know, my PK, sometimes we get a little churchy, you know.
Hey, I'm always ready to go there. We always have to put God first in everything. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much. And we want to shout out your player hating cat interrupting this interview. Thank you, Kitty.
you see, since he's gone, it's been quiet. Wow,
Yeah.
I apologize. I should have did that in the beginning. Please forgive me.
It's no problem. You know, cats, you know, well, pets are kind of, you know, they can be territorial about their owners. So she probably was like, I don't know that voice. Who was that?
Very territorial. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem, everybody. Well, this is your girl, Camille Essick, and this is the Speaker Podcast, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. And until next time, be blessed and have a good evening. Bye.